Greetings and salutations, friends and comrades. I greet you with all protocols observed. Welcome back to the second episode of Buzz Aldrin's Space Program Manager. Let's jump right into the action and not waste any time. I'm just loading up our game and we are back at the end of 1956. So immediately we travel back in time 60 years. So there we go. We did everything that we could do at the end of this turn, so I think all that's left for us to do now is just click End Season and proceed to 1957. So we get the update on the Jupiter C booster. It's almost ready to go, but not quite. I would say it's probably another 2 turns before we can use this. As well, you'll notice that our flight controllers are still in their advanced training, so there's nothing we could do even if it was finished already. Of course, our Explorer 1 satellite, we stopped working on that last time so that we could dedicate our people to the X-15. And you can see they've done a lot of work in just one season, but this is obviously not a super advanced craft. For its time, it certainly was, make no mistake, but at least we're not dealing with spacecraft here. This is just a very, very advanced aircraft, which is still difficult to do, of course. The information here is, it's always interesting for me to just have a quick look at these things. The X-15 is an experimental rocket-powered aircraft. I think I've read this before, so I'm not going to do that again. Let's just get our news report. And we've opened the X-15. So luckily the Soviet Union has not done anything in this previous season. Our people are all still busy training, so you can see there's 000. The only possibility that we have at the moment is hiring another astronaut, because we still have an empty slot there in the middle. You can see number 6. So let's quickly have a look. The earlier we get our staff levels up, the better. 96, 96. I'm already seeing a lot of promising candidates here. There's a 90 as well. I think the base will probably be Evan Mann or Douglas Dempsey. So in this case, I will probably go for, let's say, Evan Mann. He's a bit younger. I don't usually look at that, but it doesn't matter. Their learning capacity is the same. So we just accept. And again, I just boost the pay levels a little bit because the new person, as you can see, his morale level is still quite low, so we just boost it a little, and that never hurts. So he's going to do his year-long basic training now, and at least we have our full contingent of astronauts ready to go. Then I was thinking about upgrading these buildings. It might actually be a good idea to start with that now, because we are in the second phase of the first budget review period. So let's begin by upgrading the set center, which will be very important because it will allow us to get up to 14 employees going forward. The big problem here is not the once-off upgrade cost of $1,000. It's the maintenance per season, which will triple from $200 to $600, and we just have to keep a close eye on the figures here in the bottom left, because our current surplus per season is 716, so that will take 400 of that as well, and of course all our other programs. So we just need to keep a close eye on that, but this is important. We will also have to upgrade the mission control center before we get to the next budget period, starting in 1959, because once we start with manned space missions, we'll need a lot more than just 5 flight controllers. So anyway, let's just quickly go back to our programs. The rocket, we can see, is still under 70, well, just under 79% at the end of this current season, so we can't use that anyway. The Explorer is fine, not going to keep working on that, and we just have the X-15 in progress, so that's perfect. Let's just end the season and move right along to the middle of the year. Just get our reports here. The X-15 is actually progressing very quickly, even though we don't have a lot of skilled people working on it with crewed spacecraft skill. But that's fine. That actually shows us that this is a promising thing to explore early on in the game. Astronauts who graduated from advanced training, so we've got the contingent coming out of training there, but they are going straight back into training until they've reached the 80% target that I set for them in the last video. Flight controllers have graduated and they are not going straight back into training because now we will need them for the Explorer mission. Astronauts have been hired. Good news, a series of recently implemented optimizations have yielded an 8.7% reduction of your fixed costs for the next 11 seasons, which is quite a long time. That's almost 3 years. So you see, our good news so far has revolved a lot around the fixed costs, the money aspect, which is a great thing for us because, as I was just saying, we're going to have to keep an eye on our money, and this will really help us out a lot. So I guess there's an advantage to being a capitalist nation here. The space complex building has been upgraded, or it's at least starting its upgrade, so we're happy with that. I think we're actually ready to do a mission now. If we just look back at the rocket program, the Jupiter C booster, it's going to be at 81.6% at the end of this turn, which I think is acceptable. It's a little bit risky because it's not that great, and obviously our flight director is not going to be extremely skilled either. But at some point we have to take the risk. The satellite component is very good, so we can at least have a bit more confidence that once it's in space, it should work. We are not ready to actually undertake any other missions, so having the extended mission configuration will probably be the best idea. So these are the kinds of things that you have to keep in mind when you are planning your missions. Anyway, so let's go to the Explorer 1, and the extended mission is 3 seasons, and I don't think the X-15 will be ready within 3 seasons, so it's a good idea, I think. So we just click on the rocket. We're working still on the Jupiter C, and the total component reliability average is 82.4%. But it's very important to note that this is the average not for the whole mission, but just for the components. The people aspect, the human aspect, will actually be less than that, I think. Anyway, if we look at Werner von Braun here, he says there are no penalties and he believes it's safe to launch the mission, and I concur. It's a risk, but we're going to take it. So we definitely want to be the first in space, because having this mission go well will give us a lot of prestige, which we need given that we're in the second half of our budget review period. So we say yes, we assemble now, because even though it's still below 80%, it will go above that while they're still preparing the mission. Usually it's a good idea to just click auto assign best candidates. It works well most of the time, but sometimes you see we will need to move people around once you need a lot of them. You can see our booster specialist is very good, 82 and just over 82%. The spacecraft systems person is almost 80%, so these two are good. I'm confident about them. But as I said, the flight director is the weak link. 62% on average for her skills, because she needs everything, and she's going to be involved in everything as well: launch preparations, countdown launch, etc., etc. But one of the benefits is that when we have a successful mission, her skills will also improve. So I'm going to confirm that. This is just one of the things that we have to keep developing as we go along. So that's it. We still have 2 free mission controllers, so maybe I just need to actually take the opportunity and put them into more training. She's already, Nikita here has already got 84% crew and payload skill, but I think it's worth it to take her back to more training, because she's not doing anything this turn, so let's do that. We just end the season, and now we're going to have our very first mission. So I'll probably not talk too much during the actual sequence, but Anyway, let's hope for the best. Launch the mission, monitor from mission control. This will also allow us to intervene by getting some emergency personnel together for Tiger teams in case something goes wrong, which we can't do if we don't monitor from mission control. So let's just press the start and take a chance. First step is good. These flashing things always make me nervous.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
See, there we go.
3, 2.
Now we have a decision to make. We've got 23,000 funds here, so it's probably worth to invest as much as possible to give this mission the best chance of success. So we're basically paying people overtime and hiring some contractors to work on this issue, which will give us an 83% overall chance of success. So you can see it was quite low there because of the personnel being not so great, the flight director especially, but we solved the problem, so it's all good. And at least we get off the launch pad, so we can say that much. And there she goes. Upper stage. Deploying the solid boosters. And we're in orbit. Now we just need to see that the thing turns on and it works. So we've done it. We are the first nation to put a satellite in orbit, and we get 1,300 prestige for that accomplishment. You'll see now the okay, first these are the goals that we have achieved now. It's not the same for both sides. Some of these things are unique for the US or for the Soviet Union. For example, the Soviet Union does not have a sun probe. But these ones are all the same for both. So we've got our Earth orbiting satellite, we've got radio signals from low Earth orbit, and we have the Explorer 1. You can see now, this is what I mentioned before, the components involved in this mission, they've been upgraded. So if we have need of them again, for example the rocket, but we can't use it for anything else, but just taking it as an example, then it will now be 6.4% better. So it is a trade-off. You can wait until your actual scientists have made it 6% better, or you can take a chance on a mission, and if it works you get that 6%, but if it fails you're going to have a very bad penalty. We can also see here the mission controllers have gained some skills, the booster and the spacecraft systems people, and so the flight director didn't get anything, but I think she still does benefit. There were no astronauts involved, so we can just close that. Following goals have been achieved, following missions have been launched and are still in progress, and we have the upgrade completed to the set center. So this now allows us to unlock lunar probes and sun probes, and if we just go here you'll see them flashing. There's the moon and of course the sun, where we just have one program that we can launch. But this is a bit early, I think. Certainly not the sun. The sun mission takes, I think, 6 or so seasons, and that's just too much at the moment. The lunar probes, a good thing to start working on is the Pioneer 4 lunar flyby. For that we're going to need a new rocket, which is anyway the next one in the sequence, but the problem is we're still working on the X-15, and that is our next priority. It's reasonably good actually, it's already at 79%, but with manned missions you want things to be as good as possible. I'm not taking unnecessary risks, and besides the astronauts are still busy with training. I'm just going to leave the Explorer open in case something happens so we can launch it again. I really hope not, so I hope I'm not jinxing it here. We will have to actually open a new rocket program, and the reason I'm thinking that is because our people here can be taken off of this project now. You can see, let me just put him back. If they are continuing to work on this now, they'll only get a 0.5% improvement each turn, which is definitely not a worthy way for them to spend their time and talents. So we can open the Juno 2 booster, which you will see here is very significant because it's our first rocket that allows a payload to be delivered to a trans-lunar injection, and that's of course the lunar flyby one, the Pioneer 4. So I'm going to open it, and we just look at our budget. You see we're getting close to breaking even now, which is $146 in surplus. So once a program is finished, close it. If a rocket is no longer needed, close it. That will also cost you money. So let's just start working on the Juno 2. You can see when this one started, the Jupiter C, it actually had a very low reliability, but because our people now have all of the knowledge from this rocket and they pour it into this one, we start at a 55% reliability. So they know a thing or two about successful rockets already, so we start off better than before, which is great. So let's just get working on that. We have a mission controller free again, and I think that's the flight director actually. If we just have a look. No, she's still busy there. I think it's the booster guy, yes. Because obviously we don't need a booster for the Explorer mission. It's already in orbit. So I'm going to take the time to put him into another training course. It costs us $100 each time, but it's fine. You can always remove them from training early if you need them, and they will still get some benefit from it. So it's worth it. We just need the best people we can get. And this is America, damn it. We need to pay. Okay, ending the season, and we see that the X-15 is now more than 80% reliable. The Juno 2 booster is getting some good progress. You'll see here the Juno 2 booster is an evolution of the Juno 1, aka the Jupiter C, featuring a total of 4 stages. Such a configuration allows it to perform a trans-lunar injection as long as the payload mass doesn't exceed a few kilograms. While not especially reliable, it's relatively inexpensive. Now obviously we don't want to hear that it's not really reliable, so we have to work on that. Now we come back to the Explorer 1. We can just resume the mission. We don't want to reassign any flight controllers, so we just monitor it from mission control. And there we go, it's still in orbit a few months later. Perfect success, it's working very well and giving us some good data there. And let's just see the obviously it will continue upgrading as it gets more and more successful missions, which is good because it helps us with the next step. In progress mission, so that's all. There's now no other news this season. So the Soviet Union is very far behind us, obviously not very far, but if you look at the 1950s, there was a great expectation among a lot of people in the West that the Soviet Union is a very backwards nation. That's why the success of the Sputnik satellite took them by such a surprise. Now, we know better, of course, because of hindsight, but you can imagine here in the 1950s, we know the Soviets are busy working on this, but they're not such a big threat. Of course, once they succeed, we need to pick up some pace here. If we go to the Public Affairs Office, we can see we have only 5 seasons to the next budget review, and we have not met our target yet, which is not worrying. It's a little thing. We still will get a bit of prestige from the Explorer, and then the X-15 will certainly be ready to go by the end of 1958. So I'm not going to do anything. We just go to the next season again. Very good, almost 90%, and the Juno 2 is about 70%, which is really good already. We just resume the mission, and the Explorer 1 does its final work in orbit before its orbit decays and the batteries run out and all of that, and it was a perfect success. So now we actually get 500 prestige, which I think will put us over the top. We have now gained the study of the Earth magnetic field, and that's it. So we've got our target prestige. We now can relax. And look at what I was saying here. Just as we finished that, the Soviets actually launch Sputnik here, a regular mission, but still. So that means that when they discovered the okay, they haven't discovered the Earth's magnetic field yet. That's fine. Otherwise, that would have put us on par now. So we're still ahead of them, but you can now imagine the shockwaves around the world, that the Soviet Union is actually so close to the US that it's a very big cause for concern. The following missions have ended, goals achieved, astronauts graduated. That's our newest edition there. The others have also gone back into more training. Astronauts who graduated, again, that's actually the new one, Evan Man. Flight controllers, so a lot of things happening now that we need to pay attention to. You see we have 2 astronauts available, and one of them will of course be Evan Man, because he has only ended his basic training now. So he's going to get his 80% continuous leadership training, which I can imagine is quite grueling, but that's, you can look at it like that's their full-time job, to make good decisions and remain calm and make use their judgment and so on, and also to learn more about the whole space program itself. Dennis Larson here is the first to actually graduate from our advanced training program, and you can see he's got a very good leadership level, 85%. The rest, not so great. His EVA is not bad actually, but his fitness level is middling, and we would like that to get up, because it's involved in every step of the mission. Because if you can't physically handle the stress of space flight, you're not going to get very far. So the question now is, do we actually not? Yeah, I think that's a good idea now. I'm thinking just we've reached a good level with the X-15 program. Our mission controllers are free, and he's also free, so let's use him. I know it's a risk. His piloting skill is 49%, so that is not ideal, but I'm taking a chance. So please, Dennis, just do what you can and don't die. That's it. That's your order. We may need Anel here, and Jackson. He's in advanced training, so I'm going to pull him from the training. He got a little bit of a boost there, but he's already very good. So let me just close the Explorer program. If you watch our budget here in the bottom left, you'll see it's 146 now surplus, and if we close Explorer, it's 235. So it's not a big jump, but it will help us to keep our budget looking healthy. So we only have the X-15 project open, and I think we're ready for a flight test. There's 3 steps in this program, and the flight test is the first one. Werner von Braun says here there are no penalties, and I believe it's safe. So I think we must take a chance. So I'm going to schedule the mission. You see, we now need 4 people in the mission control center, including the booster guy, so I'm glad I took him out of his training. Overall, we're looking very good, almost 90% for 3 of them, but again, the flight director is the one lagging behind, but that will change. We will train her more as well. So I confirm, and we have to pick our pilot now. And if you just look there at the information it gives you, you can see leadership, piloting, and fitness. Those are the 3 skills Dennis will need during this mission, and they are involved in all of the steps. Leadership is the overwhelming one, the most important one, but piloting and fitness are also important. You can see piloting actually becomes more important towards the end of the mission, especially the landing phase, where we will need, it will take 60% of the total. So if he has a weak piloting skill, we might have a problem with the landing phase, and we know he doesn't have the best piloting skill, so we'll need to watch out for that. Anyway, Dennis, I wish you luck. You are the first astronaut to actually undertake a mission for us, and the whole United States is behind you. Confirm. It costs us money, of course, to get everything ready, but that's fine. So we still have one mission controller free, and I think it's a good practice to put him into training. It's Luke Hatch here, spacecraft systems. Go for it. That's it. So actually, yeah, there's something we can do now. I'm just thinking I don't want to waste time, so let's do things now. We have space available in the set center, and we're getting towards the end of our budget period here, so we better start getting more people. We've got more than enough money if we go into the negative to sustain us for a while. So let's hire some more people. I find that it's usually not possible to hire all of them. Like, we need 7 people now, but there won't be 7 really good ones available, so that's okay. We have Jolene here. She's got 96 learning, and she's good in rockets and human-rated rockets, so that's good. We've got Sarai here, 94 level learning, and she is good with a lot of things actually, so including EVA suits that will become important later on. Dennis, another Dennis, he's not really good with anything, but he's got a high learning skill, so I will give him some training. And we've got Marjorie here. She's good with EVA suits, but not much else, so she will also need some training. We can also take Mildred, I think. She's good with rockets and space probes, and she has an 87 learning capacity, which is not bad. So that will already give us 5 more people. Just want to see here. Barbara has an 85 learning, and she's good with space probes and crewed spacecraft, so I think let's just take her. The sooner we can get our training going, the better. And then that leaves us only one person, and the only one that we could take here is Stephen Rock, which is an awesome name. He's got an 81 learning capacity, which is not really ideal, but because of his name, I'm going to take a chance on him. So I hope you do, Rock, Stephen. Mission, so yeah, let's just pay them more. Got a lot of new people here, a lot of things happening in this department, so we need the funding, and that immediately puts us into the negative in our budget, which is not ideal, but I was expecting it. You can see our quarterly balance is dropping, but we only have 4 more turns to reach the end of this period, so it's all right. So now the stressful thing is, of course, the X-15. The Juno 2 is not ready yet, so we can just ignore that for now. The prestige deducted on failure is not very high. We will still meet our target if that happens, but if that happens, we will without doubt lose Dennis Larson, and we don't want to do that. So let's hope for the best. Preparing, and you can see we've got 6 steps in this mission. So let's go for it. Takeoff is successful. The pre-launch preparations looks like they are successful. The drop. Good, good. That must be nerve-wracking. The ascent is fine. If you see nothing is flashing, it will be a success.
Okay, I know you've done it, but check your flaps and circuit breakers.
Descent stage is fine. Landing, which we were a bit nervous about, is also a success. So it is an absolutely flawless mission. There we go. So now we're still riding on a very big wave of success. The United States has made another milestone here, and we have actually put a human being in, what was it, Mach 6, I think? So the Soviets can just look at us in awe. But I'm doubtful of that. They're scheming something. The goals achieved, of course, hired the scientists, the launched, and so on. So that was just a one-turn mission. We're now in the middle of the year, so we only have 6 more months till the end. Then let's do another X-15 mission. This one has been successful, so that also means that the component at least has been upgraded. You can see here the X, these are the ones that have not been achieved yet. So let's go for the experimental flight one, the altitude record. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to the Buzzopedia. There used to be a Buzzopedia in the game, but I think they took it out at some stage, which is unfortunate. If we click here, we just get this screen again, which shows it's happening on Earth, which is something we know. And if I click up here, it just says what this screen does for us. So there's nothing more. Okay, this gives us a bit of detail. Accomplishment of this goal requires the successful performance of a flight test that sets a new speed record by reaching velocities of up to Mach 5. Now, I guess obviously you need the speed to get the altitude, so that would make sense. So let's just schedule it, and we have no astronauts available, obviously. That's fine. There's no need to rush it. We've met our prestige target, so I will rather let all the other astronauts finish their training before I start using them. But you can see, this is an interesting note. Dennis Larsen's piloting was 49% last time, and it's 59% now. So it's made a huge jump there. So he's learned a lot on the job, which is brilliant. So that's fantastic, because it means that they also learn by doing. So we're not losing anything by not putting him in training, but we still want him to have a good skill. So let's move to the third quarter. The X-15 is almost at 90, well, just over 95%, which is as good as it's going to get about. And it's actually a good idea for me to stop working on it now, because we need to start working on the Pioneer 4 lunar flyby, because the booster is almost ready. And the astronauts are coming out of their rest season. That's obviously Dennis Larsen. The set personnel have graduated, and that's their basic. And then we have another one, a good news. Due to recent successes, the members of the Mission Control Personnel Group have increased their morale by 11%, which is brilliant. That's free morale, because they're feeling so enthused by the success we've had that obviously they're more committed and all of that. So let me go to the set center and actually start training the people that I mentioned didn't have such a brilliant skill. Anyone under 50, like Dennis Williamson here, he needs more training. And we've got a lot of rocket people, a lot of space probe people. I think human-rated rockets is going to be the next area for us, because once we start working on Project Mercury, we're going to need a lot of good people for that. I'm also going to put Marjorie on maybe space probes. We're still going to need that a lot in the future. The others I can actually use right now. Although there are 5 and I think we'll only need about 4. We don't want to take on too many projects right now. So let's put somebody else through some training. Yeah, Stephen Rock. Yes, he hasn't got such a great skill in anything. So he can... Let's see, his best one is space probe, so... let's just do that. We can always train him in other things later as well. Let's just get the Pioneer 4 open. So the lunar probes, Pioneer 4 lunar flyby, and we open the program. $2,000. We've got 16 at the moment, so we're fine there. We already have a rocket for that, the Juno 2 booster. And I like looking at the mission components from the other screen. Not this one, where I can actually get a good comparison. So right now I'm going to take everyone off of the X-15, because I want the best people working on the Pioneer 4, and some of them might have been on the X-15 at the moment. So there we go. This is a decent range of people, no one under 50% skill, so that's good. We can now decide, are we ready to actually open a new project, or are we committed to actually improving the X-15 still further? I don't think that's going to be wise, because it's already at 95.2% reliability, so let's work on something else. It might be a good idea to actually start working on the Mercury project. It's a bit early and I don't think we've got the money. It's going to cost us 2,800 to open it, so it's not terrible. We can do that. The other options are, of course, if we just go back to Earth, satellites. But the real problem here with the US satellites, it looks like it should be in order. You know, it's Explorer 1, then it's Pegasus. But the big problem with Pegasus and why it's so deceptive is it actually weighs 9,000 kilograms. And we're not going to have a rocket that can carry that to orbit in a long time. So we can start working on the biosatellite perhaps. That's 542 kilograms. And it makes sense if you look at the progression of history that we will first want to send some specimens up into orbit before we send people, and therefore I think the biosatellite is actually a wise choice. It costs a lot, but I think it will be worth it. We need to start working on these things, and I don't like looking at that here, so I just go back here, and that gives me a good overview of all of our projects. So you see, some of them, like Jolene here, she's not very good at the space probes, but it's okay. At least the work is getting done. That's fine. We don't have anyone available to start working on additional rockets yet, so that's all right. We just need to keep focused here and not take on too many things. The thing that we can do now is to take another X-15 mission on. The experimental altitude one I think is good because Dennis Larson is now available, so I just auto assign best candidates and assign Dennis Larson, confirm, and it costs us again, but that's okay. That's it. So everyone is busy, everything is being done. Perfect. We see the Juno 2 is almost ready. So the Pioneer 4 has to catch up. It's quite a distance behind the rocket, but it's getting a good jump here. The Pioneer 4, of course, is a very small spacecraft designed to perform a lunar flyby. It is equipped with a Geiger-Moller detector, which performs lunar radiation environment experiments. The spacecraft is also capable of transmitting the recorded data back to Earth, which is brilliant. The biosatellite is a small orbiter used for performing biological studies on small organisms such as a variety of plants, bacteria and insects which are carried in specific containers. The spacecraft is equipped with a retro rocket and a re-entry capsule, allowing the recovery of the experiments for laboratory analysis. Now obviously this thing about animal testing, I don't like it, but we're role-playing the game here. It's not a real thing. So let's just get to the X-15 and launch that. There we go. So we've got 7 steps this time. Takeoff is a success. The pre-launch is a success. So far so good. And the rocket is ignited. So Dennis is becoming our X-15 expert here. And something is flashing.
Your position is good.
And what happens? Nothing. Sometimes when something is flashing, nothing will happen, which is a good thing.
Your position is good.
Peak altitude.
Okay, I know you've done it, but
Perfect success.
circuit breakers.
Landing. Looks like it's going to be a success, despite some things flashing and some questionable things, but obviously they weren't serious enough to even warrant our attention, so that was fine. So now we've completed hypersonic research at the edge of space, and we've reached Mach 5, and I think that was obviously reaching the 100-kilometer mark because that's what they said we would be doing, so that's fine. Goals achieved. Hypersonic, astronauts graduated, so they've finally reached their 80% goals, and Evan Mann is obviously continuing, he's not there yet. Flight controllers have graduated, that was Luke Hatch. launched and finished a successful mission, and we have opened 2 programs. So that puts us in the last stretch of this video and of the budget review period. We only have 1 season left, but we have no stress in our lives because we have far exceeded the expectations put on us by the president and all the other politicians. So the astronauts are our next focus. We can either decide, and I think that's what I'll do, I'm going to use somebody else for the last X-15 mission, just because Dennis is getting all of the skills and he's getting all of the prestige. That's not a real thing in the game, but in real life obviously you would get some status from these missions, and I'd like to spread that around. I hope this will not be to the detriment of our mission, but I think Mary Hawkins, she's over 50% on everything, so she is going to be our next X-15 pilot, and it's also good to send a woman up to show from the beginning that we are allowing anyone to excel in our program. Now, the next step is to start some fitness training for all the others, and I will do just single trainings for this because I'm not as fixated on getting 80% for fitness, but it needs to be at a decent level regardless. So I'm just putting everyone who's free, so that leaves just Dennis Larson, and he can be a good backup for us in case something happens. And then of course Mary Hawkins. So he's obviously still in a rest season, which is why we only have 1 available, and we can actually launch this mission. I think it might be a good idea. We have the flight controllers, we have everything available, so let's see if we can finish the X-15 project. So this one is the speed record, which will give us, see, they've swapped these 2 around. There's a bug here. This one is the speed record, but it speaks about reaching a new altitude record of 100 kilometers and above. But that's what we did last time. So this time we're actually breaking Mach 5, not the last time. So we just schedule it, and we will just assign the same people again. Pilot will be Mary Hawkins this time, and she's decent. I have confidence in her. I think she will be a success. I hope so. Costs us again, but that's fine. $600, we're fine. We only have 1 season until the budget, so we still have $9,000 in our account, so we're perfectly fine. So let's do it. This is the last turn then, and we'll just go through that mission before I end the video. Everything is progressing. So this is it. It all comes down to this. Do we end on a high or do we end on a low?
Haven't gotten to 1 minute warning yet. 1 minute.
So far, it's okay.
40 seconds to launch.
Okay, getting ready to launch.
Ready to launch now.
Ascent.
Your position is good.
And now we get to the speed, which is going to happen quickly.
Okay, I know you've done it, but check your
And there's a problem. Alright, it's not too bad. 79% if we do nothing, but I will not do nothing. Especially because this is a manned mission. We need to invest as much as we can, and we have more than enough money, so we hire 3 teams for this. Almost 90% chance of success. Let's hope for the best. And it works. Okay. That's always a relief when that happens. Descent. And the landing looks like it will be a success. So I wonder what happened during that high-speed leg. They never tell you if you solve something what was the problem. They only say if it was a disaster. So at least that was averted. So we end on a high note. I'm glad. So we've done our speed record now. We've completed the space plane, so we don't need to use the X-15 anymore, which is a shame actually. We can put some other astronauts through some X-15 missions, but I don't think that will really be necessary. So Mary Hawkins becomes the first woman in an X-15, and she gets a 0.5% improvement, but I guess that's an average because we saw that the piloting skill went up a lot last time for Dennis Larson, so that's good. We just go through the news here and then I'll end this video, and we've reached our budget era, so we're ready to go. But of course those dastardly Soviets are not playing well. So they are playing fair. I wanted to say they were not playing fair, but obviously that would not be true. They have launched the Sputnik 2, and now they have finally discovered the Earth magnetic field, and they have also studied small living organisms. So they become the first nation to put living things into space. I assume this was orbit. Although we basically reached the edge of space with Dennis Larson, still that is something for us to think about. We need to not let our guard down. The Soviets are just on our tail. Then the goals achieved, of course, the space plane, and we have launched and succeeded with that mission. Now we get the important news. The president and so on, they're very happy with us. We've met our target, and our new budget per season is $10,000. So that's more than 3 times increased from before. The minimum and maximum target, I don't worry about the minimum because we must focus on the maximum, is 9,375. So we're already more than halfway there. So we are actually doing very well. And that will give us $26,000 per season, which we are aiming for because we need that to start with Project Gemini. So that's it. I'm going to end here. We've reached our goal, and I hope it's been enjoyable for you and that you'll join me in the next episode as we continue our race to the moon. May fortune smile on you. Until then, I bid you adieu.